We've come out to the desert, and it's where we bring our pilgrims from St George's College. We always make sure that they spend some time in the desert. And it's hard to imagine that we're only 10 miles from Jerusalem itself. And just in the far distance, you can make out Jerusalem on the furthest horizon. And then 10 miles in the other direction is the Jordan River. But in the middle, it is desert. But sometimes we have an image of desert as sand, and this is rocky terrain. It's hard, and not as we imagined the desert in some parts of the world, but it's wilderness because there's barely any rain. And we're here at a place called Wadi Kelt, and a wadi is simply a valley, which in the winter is most likely to have water running through it, and then in the summer will mostly be dry. When there is rain, a wadi can literally flood. There can be flash floods, but for the long period of the summer in the heat, it's a really tough place to be. But there's a beauty and there's a grandeur, and it feels easy to feel you've come into the presence of God. And so bringing our pilgrims here, we want to give them a sense of this awesome space and the power of God's creation. And there's a silence which is tangible. And this place, not so very far from here, may well have been where Jesus was in the desert for his temptations. Because we know that it was shortly after he was baptized in the River Jordan, and this Judean desert was the place most accessible to him, a place where he could escape. And the other great surprise here is that just over the brow and into the wadi itself, there is a monastery. It's the Monastery of St George's Kotsiba. The monastery was built in around 420 AD. And then through history since then, it's gone through various different difficulties. It's been ransacked, it's been abandoned. And then in the late 19th century, in the late 1800s, it was repopulated, and it has been continuously populated by Greek Orthodox monks ever since. And so much of this area was populated with monasteries through history, and a few now remain. And that glimpse of the monastery gives us a sense of the tough life that monks have. But you know, they didn't come out here as a punishment. They came out here because it's a gift. There is something gifted to us in the desert which we do not get in the midst of our busy day-to-day lives. And it was true back then when Jerusalem was a big and busy city, and it's true now for us wherever we live, that time in our wildernesses can be really important. And mostly when we come, we simply look over the brow and imagine the monks and their life and think about them. But a little while ago, a few months ago, my wife Julianne and I took the opportunity to walk down into the valley and to visit the monastery. It was a wonderful experience. We didn't quite know what we would find there. We weren't the only ones, there were a few others visiting too. And the monks were incredibly welcoming. They didn't resent our coming, they seemed to really welcome us with warmth and generosity. And there was a glass of water for us and a biscuit to sustain us, and we could stay as long as we liked just to be in their place. They only open for certain parts of the day, so they get plenty of time for isolation. But also they want to share the gift of their place of prayer here in the desert. And the desert is something of a metaphor for us, of the place where God invites us to go, to escape from the pressures and the difficulties of our life. A place where we can go to pray. A place where we can enter into that silence, in prayerfulness and in study. And all of us need that place of stillness. It can be hard to capture it. But here, when we bring people to the desert, it provides a visual image of that place that God calls us into during Lent, where we can simply be quiet, prayerfully, and maybe to receive a surprise that we had not expected at all. And the desert, this desert, is full of all sorts of surprises.